every bit.
To be fair, Coogan has given me that slogan.
Did he?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Are you recording? All right. No. Let's talk about it real quick. So I didn't realize when I first started out how fast I was talking. I couldn't help it. I guess maybe I was nervous. I just wanted to get the questions in, and every time I would be like, "Hey, Fight fans!" It was so fast. I didn't realize it. He's like, "Do you realize how fast you say, 'Hey, Fight fans'?" I'm like, "No," and then it became a thing because he kept saying it, "Hey, Fight fans," and that's how it became a thing.
So really,
I said it, but he made it like funny.
So really, behind the gloves have stole IFL's slogan. Really.
No, I was always saying, "Hey, Fight fans."
But you just said.
But he made it funny, like, because I didn't realize that I was saying it some types of ways. Whatever, anyways. He made it a thing.
So he made it a thing. So you're admitting that.
I never denied it.
Oh, interesting.
I give credit where due, Ben.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not greedy like that.
That's just an interesting fact. That's just an interesting fact for the boxing fans.
A fun fact, as we call it. A fun fact. Well, anyways, I'm here with Ben Davision. Ben, it's nice to catch up with you. I know I saw you just a few days ago, but you were busy with your FIFA. That I didn't want to, interrupt the flow you had going on there with the guys.
I was winning.
Were you winning?
Yeah, I kept winning.
I can't tell. I don't really pay attention to any of that stuff.
I did keep winning, so I was in the flow.
Well, you're obviously here for the final press conference between Billy Joe Saunders and Shafat Isufi. We just wrapped it up. Probably the least shit-talking I've ever heard come from Billy Joe at a press conference. Normally, he likes to take the piss out of his opponents, but he didn't. He was a little bit more reserved. Was that a bit different for you as well?
It's difficult when the opponent doesn't speak English as well, you know?
Well, some of them haven't. What was the one guy that he was supposed to fight, but he didn't end up fighting because he went to jail?
Oh, Avtandil Kurtzidze.
Kurtzidze, yeah.
That was just the situation where man v man, Billy Joe said, "I'm ready now," and he said, "I'm ready now." So Billy Joe took it as though, "Oh, you want to go now?" You know, that was where the problem arose there. But you know, when you're this close to the fight, you know, you got respect for your opponent. You have to respect your opponent, especially at this level. So you know, he's ready to do his job, and he can't overlook anybody.
A win on Saturday night would really put Billy Joe in a prime position in terms of getting the big fights that he's been wanting, the big names, even if it is at super middle, whether that be Callum Smith or David Benavidez, or along the lines of, you know, having the guys at middleweight come up to super middle, because we know that Canelo is capable of doing so when he fought Rocky Fielding, and Gennady Golovkin has mentioned that he would consider it as well. So during this camp, only you really have been able to see what type of changes, you know, have been made. Can you maybe give us a bit of glimpse into what you have seen develop or change with Billy Joe?
Well, obviously, Billy Joe was inactive really for a long time. He hasn't. I know he had the bout against Charles Adamu in December, but you know that was what it was. It was like Billy Joe said. He only really done that for the lad Denver. He had promised him to be able to do a ring walk, and you know it's just one of them that he wanted that lad to be able to share that moment with that lad before, unfortunately, passing away. So he hasn't really boxed since David Lemieux in 2017. So there was lots of things. We went back to the drawing board, went back to the fundamentals and started again, and just correcting a few things. And, you know, it's paid off well. And we've got a full team together now for Billy Joe, with a nutritionist, a strength and conditioning coach, myself and others. And it's so far so good through training camp. I'm not going to lie, he's looked very, very well. But obviously, it's one thing doing it in training camp and another thing doing it on the night.
What have you been able to gather of Isufi? Because there's not much on the internet for us to sort of just go Google and figure it out. So what have you been able to gather that maybe perhaps we haven't been able to see?
Well, first things first, what you don't need to be able to see is that he's number one with the WBO. He's come from cruiserweight down to super middleweight. Billy Joe's coming up from middleweight. That alone demands respect because of the physicality side of things, and that demands respect. But in terms of boxing-wise, when he puts his shots together, he puts them together very well, puts them together with variety, with speed, with power. But obviously there are some weaknesses as well, and an interesting one is that he's not really been in there with anybody like Billy Joe Saunders before. He's not been at this level before, so it's an interesting one. He could be like a rabbit in the headlights, or he could rise to the occasion, and you can't underestimate anybody in that position.
So, although you're the trainer, you're actually the youngest in the group.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you're the youngest.
Isaac's the youngest, but I am younger than Tyson and Billy Joe, yeah.
Yeah. Is it, or has it been challenging at all sometimes when you work with friends? It could be, there's that thin line between getting the respect you need as the trainer and then also being the friend that they kind of, mess about with. Have you had any hiccups along the way where you had to let them know, hey, I'm your trainer?
No, not at all, to be honest. And, it's a situation where I wouldn't be in that situation. I wouldn't put myself in that situation. We've got respect for each other. And I also have to respect the fact that, he's a world champion. He's been in the game a long time. And, I'm not going to talk to him like a child. And that's the good balance that we all have. We all have respect for each other. When we have the right balance of being able to enjoy what you do, but also getting the work done and being effective.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to mention the whole talk with Tyson Fury, and I know that Deontay Wilder has been saying some stuff as of recent. He made the reference that he gave him memory loss, that he hit him hard enough, he got memory loss. You made comments about Deontay as well. Could you clarify in terms of what you had recently said by saying that he was, Tyson gave him brain damage?
Who said Tyson gave him brain damage?
Didn't you just say that?
No, what I said was he's psychologically damaged.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Psychologically damaged.
Yeah, not brain damaged. Psychologically damaged in terms of, I think that he didn't expect Tyson to turn up like he turned up at. And I just recently was speaking to Andy Lee as well, and he said to me, when I looked at Billy Joe Saunders, I saw a textbook southpaw. He said, but when I got in there, I realised how clever and how smart and how good he really is. And I think that happened with Deontay Wilder. I think he looked from the outside and saw one thing, and when he got in there was another thing. And I think, he sort of had expectations of what was going to happen in there, and that didn't happen. And I think deep down he knows, and his team probably knows he's been beat. And I think he feels that and he knows that. And I can see, that his team are constantly trying to make a lot of changes with him right now. And that will play a part on somebody's mind, which is absolutely normal. Every fighter and every trainer wants to see themselves improving and see their fighters improving and see the team improving. But, it has to be bit by bit. But I can see a lot of things have sort of been chucked at him to change. And a lot sort of changing in a quick, short space of time. And that can play psychologically on a fighter. And I think Deontay's a good guy. I think his team's a good team. But that's just what I see, and I think it would be interesting to see how those changes and what I see psychologically plays out on Saturday against Brazil.
Deontay Wilder's been under a lot of criticism in the last few days for the comments that he made in terms of wanting to kill somebody in the ring. Oftentimes, fighters say it's like an alter ego they have. There's the guy, the normal guy, and then there's the fighter. What do you make of his comments? Because I know that he is considering his comments to be more of his alter ego, the man that's wanting to go in there and do some damage. But what do you make of him actually saying that that's something that he wishes for on his record?
Well, I saw a friend of ours and a friend of the team's, a guy called Jim Hemmings actually, and he put a comment to say, I would like to see Deontay Wilder make those comments stood in front of the likes of Michael Watson and Gerald McClellan. Which is right, when you've seen what can happen to fighters and fighters that are in those sort of situations, I'm sure his views would change on that. Nobody wishes that on anybody, and from the times I've spoke to Deontay, I met him, he's always been a pleasurable guy and a nice guy, and I'm sure you'd say the same. But like I say, there's a lot of things going on for him at the minute, a lot of changes. I think he's, psychologically, he's got a lot of pressure on him. And, like I say, listen, it's only my view. I think there's something going on psychologically with him at the minute. And like I say, it'd be interesting to see how it plays out on Saturday. But the comment-wise, obviously, it's not good for boxing. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he doesn't mean it. It probably is a bit too far even just to be selling a fight. But it's not for my place to take too much of a comment on, really.
All right, Ben. Well, thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
I always appreciate it.
Solid handshake.
You know I'm a confident woman. Would you like to say anything? Any final words? Is there any maybe updates that we should know about?
Any updates? Nope. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye, Fight fans. Hey, Fight fans. It's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do so by clicking this icon right here, or else.